Today on Jump to Snap, we will be looking at our Super Bowl recap. We will be talking about the coach carousel, and we will be looking at some Hopium, Copium for this upcoming season. Stay tuned. All right, so Carter.
Yeah, what's up?
The Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting one. I wasn't expecting the Chiefs to come out so flat. I was expecting much more of a competitive game, but it was kind of disappointing. I think probably the halftime show was the best part of the Super Bowl.
Which I don't get why people hated it so much. I don't know if it's because they're 50-year-old white people or what, but...
Well, yeah, I thought it was one of the best Super Bowls, that I can remember. I thought it was good, and, they kept it more to music and less to, like, theatricals. You know what I'm saying? Like, less show, more
theatricals, music. Is that the word you were trying to use?
Thank you. Thank you.
Theatricals. Yes. I've never heard of that one before.
But anyway, did you have any takeaways from the Super Bowl?
It was amazing watching the Chiefs get embarrassed like that. That was... Yeah, but... Like, I don't know. You kind of got it right on the head that, like, Andy Reid and Spags, the defensive coordinator, they didn't look right at all. They didn't make any adjustments. They were just one-dimensional all game long. It was...
Yeah. I mean, they... Oh, sorry. It's like they didn't... It's like they didn't even establish the run, which is surprising to me. I forget the statistic, but at the first half, they only had like 3 rushing attempts or something like that, which it just kind of blew my mind. I mean, I know that Eagles defensive line... they're tough, but I don't think you're going to be very successful only running the ball 3 times and a half.
They dug themselves into a hole early, and I don't know why. And like, there's going to be Chiefs fans saying, "Oh, our O-line wasn't good all year long." It's like, that's bullshit. You went 15-2. You don't get that excuse. Just like the Lions don't get that excuse. You have that good of a record, you can't blame it on something at the end when you finally lose. And
yeah,
if I can't remember the number exactly. I think it was like Mahomes had a passer rating of 10.71 heading into halftime, and I didn't know it was possible to have a passer rating that low. Like,
yeah, I remember you messaging me that we were watching the Super Bowl, and you messaged me saying that, and I had to look it up because I couldn't believe it, because that does not sound like Patrick Mahomes at all.
It doesn't sound like high school quarterbacks do better than that. I don't get it.
Yeah. Right.
It's like getting like 750 on the SATs or whatever just for putting your name down. It's like,
right.
You get a 10.0 just for showing up. He barely showed up.
Right. And the offensive line, like you brought up, like, it was incredible how terrible they were. I mean, you could go through the stats. They had 1 first down in the first half. Kels didn't have a reception the whole first half. That's never happened in his postseason career. And the Chiefs defense, the funny part is they held Saquon Barkley to, like, I forget how many yards it was, but like it was like 33, 35 yards in the first half. And like, if you told me that, if I wasn't watching the game and you just told me that the Chiefs held Saquon Barkley to that kind of yardage, I would just assume that, like, the Chiefs are, it's at least a really close game. The Chiefs are probably winning. But
it wasn't. Like, that's part of how, I mean, like, they just look so one-dimensional. They're like, okay, we're going to stop Saquon. Great. Why are they torching you up the sideline with deep passes every time then? And like the Chiefs O-line, it's crazy to me. The Eagles defense, they didn't blitz once. When has that ever happened?
No, they were just rushing forward, and they were sending everyone back, and they were still able to get after Patrick Mahomes constantly.
It just doesn't make sense. And like, freaking, oh my God, Kelsey, like, you had Mahomes doing so many scramble drills, which is not like him at all. He was, what was he doing? He was getting panicky, which the greats never do, which he typically never does. You had him stepping into pressure. You had him running out of pockets so quickly. And then, yeah, his O-line wasn't helping him, but there's been quarterbacks with worse O-lines who do a heck of a lot more. For example, Bryce Young. Like, what the hell? And then you have Mahomes doing all these scramble drills, and it's like, okay, great, here comes a Kelsey 22-yard pass because he's going to be wide open. He wasn't even doing anything. He wasn't trying. He was trying harder to start fights than make plays. That's what I saw for 3/4 of that game.
Did you ever see that clip of where it was late in the third quarter and it looked like Kels gave up on a block? Like he was just standing there while Patrick Mahomes was scrambling for his life and he wasn't even blocking.
I know. And people are like, "Oh, it's because he saw the penalty flag on the ground." That doesn't matter. It could have been on the Eagles. He's never just gave up like that before. We've never seen him do that. He's always like, "Oh shit, he's out of the pocket. I gotta move to find him, get in his view." He didn't even do that. He wasn't trying.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't like. He's gonna go in the Hall of Fame, but how he's played this season and how he looked and his effort is just. He's not a good player anymore. He's just kind of there.
Kind of lost a step.
He's getting old too. But look at him the last couple of years. When you get old, you don't just gain weight. He gained weight. He looks fat. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping. To be honest, I think most of America was hoping for a Chiefs loss here, but I actually started to feel bad. And I know you feel differently on that, but I honestly thought I was witnessing something I shouldn't be witnessing. Because that was just kind of brutal to watch.
It was beautiful. I loved it. Okay. I don't care what anyone says. Like, oh man, that game was boring. Are you kidding me? That was entertaining as hell. All freaking season long. We're going to 3-peat, guys. Tay-Tay's going to carry us the way. Nope. Those dirty birds up in Philly shut that shit down real quick.
Do you think this was the worst game of Patrick Mahomes' career?
It was. Everyone says he had a game that was slightly worse, but like this game was his worst because I'm not counting. In my opinion, what was the final score? Like 40-22? 43?
40 to 22, but I mean that doesn't even tell the whole story.
It was 40-6. It was 40-6 in my opinion.
Yeah,
once you pull starters and it's just garbage time and they're not even trying anymore. The fact that garbage time was like still 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's just
in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And they're like, yeah, you know what, Kenny Pickett, you go get out there. Is he taking a knee? Nope, he's actually throwing the ball, and he completed a pass too. It's freaking crazy.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm just trying to think of.
Like Barkley didn't get a touchdown, which sucks, but at least he was cool about it. You could see him on the sideline talking to everyone, like he did not care.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, the other crazy statistic that I was reading on is that it was like 3 or 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and that was the first time the Chiefs entered Eagles territory.
Yeah, I remember that. I mean, that was
just absolute domination. Just insane. But
it's like the Chiefs and Eagles switched uniforms. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, didn't it look like the Chiefs almost didn't belong in the Super Bowl? Which is crazy to say, but
it's also accurate.
Yeah, I guess so.
They didn't even deserve a 15-2 record. Do you understand? And like the Chiefs won 15-2 with like 1-score games, and then you had the Jags, the Raiders, the Patriots, all like 3-14 in 1-score games. It's like,
oh, they might have got a little help, but you know. A lot of help, but
the Kansas City cheats. Never forget
the cheats.
God, I'm just I didn't want the Eagles to win, but if it meant the Chiefs lost, then so be it.
Do you think this? I mean. I don't mean to live kind of in the moment, but legacy-wise, we know Patrick Mahomes is obviously going to be a Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
But you know this game, and then you can kind of compare it to the Tampa Bay game. That is two, big crucial games where he hasn't looked the best.
Well, I remember. So this is that Tampa game was before I was rooting against the Chiefs because screw Tom Brady and his devil magic. That was the Packers season. That was my season.
Yeah, it should have been.
That was the year I got into football a lot, and like as bad as I am now. And I remember Mahomes, he was doing everything he could in that game, and his team wasn't showing up. This time, it was everyone wasn't showing up. Like,
Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of drops on that Tampa Bay game, wasn't there?
freaking
Things that
Mahomes
like that.
did the goddamn Superman throw, and Kelsey dropped it. It was right on the money, too. He did the perfect
Yeah.
Superman throw, and Kelsey just let it hit him in the face.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But do you think a game like this, he's obviously going to go in the Hall of Fame, but does this hurt his legacy at all? I mean, will this be a game that you kind of remember and you kind of maybe makes people pump the brakes on Patrick Mahomes a little bit?
He's no longer a top 5 quarterback all time.
Really?
I don't
you
think
don't
he
think
is.
he's a top 5?
It's like, you can't deny the stats that Tom Brady had in the Super Bowl, whether you like him or not, which I don't. But in 10 Super Bowls, Tom Brady threw 7 interceptions, or 6 interceptions. In 5 Super Bowls, Patrick Mahomes threw 7. And good
Wow.
quarterbacks do not turn the ball over in the Super Bowl, and he turned the ball over.
Yep.
So already he's below Tom Brady in the GOAT conversation, which is, ugh. So like that's a whole nother debate of who is the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. I think Brady and Manning are locks for 1 and 2, and then I'm sure Montana is up there, but that's a whole nother debate.
Something that impressed me with Jalen Hurts though is I noticed the Eagles were doing real good at getting into 3rd and long situations, and it always felt like the Chiefs were gonna stop them, make a stop.
That's why it felt so boring, like until they started laying down the hammer. Because it was just like, okay, run for a loss, run for a short gain, deep pass down the sideline. It was just that over and over and over again. And then they actually put it in the end zone. And then Jahan Dotson, he almost got into the end zone. It's like, okay, now we got a game. Now it's getting fun to watch. It's like, when are the Chiefs going to come back? Oh, they're not? Even better. Get the popcorn going.
But you know, like it just felt like the Chiefs would make some crucial mistake when they got him in third and long, or Jalen Hurts would somehow get him close to the first down, then they would do a tush push or something to get the first down. And it just seemed like the Chiefs were having a really difficult time getting off the field in crucial moments where they probably should be stopping them on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9.
They should have been doing a lot of things, but they weren't. They just didn't show up. And I kept waiting for the report to come out. Oh, yeah, we all went partying last night, so we were just a little slow today. Like the Packers did against the Broncos in, what was that, 97 or whatever that was?
Oh, they went out partying?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Favre and like a bunch of the playmakers the night before, they thought they were guaranteed locks to win the Super Bowl, so they went out partying the night before and they were hungover. That's why the Broncos just decimated them that game.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Mm-hmm. And then Favre never made it back to the Super Bowl. But then there was some like anonymous like executive within the Chiefs building. And he's like, let me be honest, guys. We had Super Bowl fatigue. And it's like, the bullshit.
Super Bowl fatigue.
Jim Kelly and the Bills went to the Super Bowl 4 times. Terry Bradshaw went to the Super Bowl 4 times. Tom Brady went to 10 of them. Bart Starr was in 5 world championships, 3 world championships, 2 Super Bowls. Well, we got Super Bowl fatigue. We're just tired of winning. Fucking bullshit. That was.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a such thing as Super Bowl fatigue.
You want to talk
guys...
about copium? That's copium. Okay, that's stupid. Oh my. I just.
Speaking of copium, are we going into hopium and copium now?
I suppose we can. We can talk about some of the coaching hires, get into that, because that's going to play a big factor in what the other fan bases have to look forward to.
Sure. Oh, wait. Before we move on, Carter, so where do you rank that Super Bowl? Out of all the Super Bowls you've seen, where do you rank that one?
Out of all the Super Bowls? Man, you're asking me to remember a lot.
Yeah.
I think the Rams-Patriots will always be the worst one, the 2017 Super Bowl. I would say... And I've watched let's say I've watched 12 Super Bowls. I can't remember them all. Let's say I watched 12 of them.
Yeah.
I'd say it's in the top 8 for this one. Just because there was so much hype around Chiefs three-peating and, Taylor's going to be there, and this is going to prove that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are better than Gronk, Belichick, and Brady. And it was just the perfect blew up in their face situation. And they just shut that down so quick. And the best part is, too, they keep the curse going. If you win 15 games in a season, you will never win the Super Bowl.
That's a real curse, huh?
Mm-hmm. That's a real stat. No team ever has won 15 plus games and won the Super Bowl. 2011, Packers go 15-1, lost to the Chiefs week 17 or whatever it was back then. And then first round exits to the Falcons, I think it was. And then you had, Brady, the undefeated season. We're going to go all the way. And guess what? That didn't happen. So I think it was the Giants that ruined that. I can't remember. But it's been proven. You win 15 games, you're screwed. But the Chiefs never looked good this season. With Matt Nagy as their offensive coordinator, the whole offense got worse. And he's been there a few years now, but they got worse with him there, and they just squeaked into Super Bowls and winning because of their amazing defense, BS calls, and like key players getting hurt at the worst time, like Greenlaw last year on the 49ers. The second he was gone, suddenly the middle of the field opened up for Kelce and Mahomes, and they were just marching down the field.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, and I didn't look too deep into it, but I remember seeing the stats, how they were talking, like, if you look at Patrick Mahomes' stats in the Super Bowl, they are very pedestrian. Very pedestrian. Not Tom Brady, like, he loses a game and he still throws 506 yards. It was just...
Patrick Mahomes, like in the postseason, you said? Or
Patrick Mahomes in all of his Super Bowls has always had pedestrian stats. He has never been like the difference maker, which is not good in a Super Bowl. Your quarterback needs to step up. Aaron Rodgers in his one Super Bowl, making throws you couldn't believe. He was on point that entire game. You had Tom Brady in all his Super Bowls. He was never the guy holding the team back.
Oh, yeah, you better hope that Tom Brady didn't have the ball last, because usually he was going to score. As much as I don't like the guy, he was incredible at making, I guess, winning plays, winning drives.
His eyes never got too big for the moment.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Whereas Patrick Mahomes almost immediately in this game was just all over the place.
Yeah, and like you said, he just looked really, from the first drive, he just looked kind of, he had a look in his eyes that we don't really see Patrick Mahomes have. He looked kind of
I felt this excitement building up watching the Chiefs struggle so much. And then good old Cooper DeJean, Iowa pride white boy, picked off Mahomes and takes it all the way to the house, representing us white folks in the league now. And I'm like, this is it. This is how it happened. They got rid of end racism in the end zone, and the white man picked off the black man. This is how it happened.
Oh, it was all planned. I got you.
It's... I'm going to stop before we get canceled.
Yeah, it might be a good idea. So coaching changes.
Yeah. So, would you like a reminder of who got hired?
A brief reminder would probably be good. I got some notes jotted down, but there was a lot of changes.
There was. I got a lot of notes on it because I was really focused on it this offseason. There were some interesting teams there. So you got the Jets. They hired Aaron Glenn, Lions defensive coordinator. You got the Bears, who hired Ben Johnson, Lions offensive coordinator. You have the Saints, who hired Kellen Moore, who was the Eagles offensive coordinator. You had the Cowboys, who hired Brian Schottenheimer, offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. He got promoted. You had Jaguars, who hired Liam Cohen, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. You had the Raiders, who hired Pete Carroll, which is an interesting hire. And then you had Patriots, who hired Mike Vrabel, who was offensive assistant coach for the Browns last season.
Yeah, I really like what the Jets did with Aaron Glenn. I don't know why he just gives me like that Dan Campbell vibe where like I don't know why. It just, first of all, he was drafted by the Jets.
Yeah.
And he played for the Jets, so I feel like that's a good way to build some, I guess, chemistry with the players quickly. And he just kind of comes across as a guy that you'd want to play hard for. When the Lions were suffering all those injuries on defense, they lived by next man up. And I mean, I know they weren't great, but for all the injuries they had, I mean, they did pretty good, I would say. And you know, a lot of teams, they say next man up, but it just felt like they lived by that philosophy. I just feel like a lot of those players on the Jets, even though their QB situation isn't great at the moment,
It's beyond a situation. It's a disaster.
but I feel like the players would be willing to run through a wall for him. So
They will.
I really like that hire.
I did too. I wanted him to go to the Saints originally, but once I heard he was going to the Jets, I'm like, all right, he's got some talent there. He can do it. And I watched a lot of videos on him, and he's exactly the kind. I think he's going to be the best coaching hire of the past 10 years. I think he's going to be a better coach than Dan Campbell, and I don't think Dan Campbell is that great of a coach when it comes to scheming and X's and O's and making plays when it matters. I think he's too aggressive, and that's not just coming as a Packer fan. That's just coming as a football viewer. I think we're going to be in for a show this next season with how much of a brain drain that happened with the Lions coaching room, because they also lost their one guy that was making them a contender, which was Ben Johnson and his amazing offensive schemes that royally pissed us off as Packer fans, because they were always doing something that was like, I didn't know that was a thing, but they did it. They got it. And it's just like, let me find it quick. I got a note here. So would you like to know the kind of brain drain the Lions have?
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, so they lost their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. They lost defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn. They lost their pass game coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, who's now the Jets offensive coordinator. You have their defensive line coach, Terrell Williams, who's now the Patriots defensive coordinator. You have the wide receiver coach, Antoine Randall L., who's now the Bears assistant coach and wide receivers coach. You have the assistant quarterbacks coach, JT Barrett, who's now the Bears quarterback coach. And you have the tight ends coach, Steve Hayden, who's now the Jets O-line coach. Like, all these important coaches, gone. They got picked off by Glenn and Johnson. They took them with. They're like, except Terrell Williams. Mike Vrabel saw that guy. He's like, you're my kind of guy.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, the Lions season's going to be interesting. We'll see, you know, what Dan Campbell can do with a new, basically a whole entire new crew with him. But
and who is he going to promote? I don't know if he already promoted someone or not, but who was there to promote on the offensive side of the ball that could replace Ben Johnson? Because they took them all.
Oh.
They took everyone.
Yeah, and I think a guy like Ben Johnson's kind of irreplaceable. I'm not sold on Ben Johnson as a head coach yet.
Neither am I. But
He's a great offensive coordinated mind, but I don't know. There's something about him where I just feel like he's a lot stronger at offensive coordinator.
and he might be. But as a football fan, I think he's the perfect hire for the Bears and the talent they have there. Like Caleb Williams, he needed someone like Ben Johnson who can call an offense that would fit him. And he came out right away during that press conference where he's like, we're going to build a scheme that's for our players. We're going to build around them. We're not going to force them into some system that doesn't work. And as a Packer fan, we need to get our shit together now. We just do. Because if he does take off like I think he might, I think there's a possibility he could be the Kyle Shanahan of the Bears. Like, he's going to take them to new heights real quick.
Yeah, the NFC North is completely loaded with talent at coaches right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting.
The Lions aren't the only one with a brain drain. The Broncos also got a brain drain because they ended up losing their tight ends coach, who's considered a rising star of like offensive talent. Like, they think this guy could be the next Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson hired him to be his OC. And now he's not going to be calling plays for the Bears, but he's going to be job shadowing basically for a couple of years. It's watching an offensive mastermind, an offensive guru, just call the best offenses you've ever seen. And he's going to be a threat to whatever team he goes to as a new coordinator. Because I think his path is very much going to be coordinator for the Bears, coordinator for some other team that's actually going to be him calling plays. I say 3 to 5 years, he's probably a head coach if he is as good as people say he is. And he's only 28, and people are pretty convinced he's as good as they say he is. And then you got like right away, Ben Johnson is building this all-star staff. Like, he kept the special teams coordinator who was really good. I can't remember his name. But he freaking immediately, before it was even confirmed that Ben Johnson was the Bears head coach, everyone was saying, oh, guys, by the way, Dennis Allen's going to be his defensive coordinator. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? The guy, he's building the ultimate coaching staff right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. The Bears are, they could be a force to be reckoned with here pretty soon. I mean, I know they got to beef up that offensive line, but with the weapons they have, and they don't got a bad defense, and the coaching staff, I mean, Caleb Williams showed some flashes at the end of the year. They could be, be a pretty strong opponent for
as a football fan.
The next
cool.
few years.
Bears could be good again. As a Packer fan, oh shit.
yeah.
And
what did you think of the Pete Carroll hire? I've heard people say they like it, and it kind of confuses me.
It is nothing more than a temp position. Like, he's gonna steer the ship on the right path, but after that, they're gonna find someone else that would hit the system he builds and give him the door or show him the door, because he's got a 3-year deal. They got the second most cap space heading into the Super Bowl, at least, to spend this offseason with $92 million. So
I mean, they could finally get a quarterback if they want to. So
so that's the thing too. So you got like Shedeur Sanders, who works out with Tom Brady. You had Shedeur Sanders also tweeting out, "Thank God," anytime the Raiders lost. And Colorado, Vegas are they're not far apart. So there's a lot of talk, and I think it might happen too, where the Raiders trade up for Shedeur Sanders. Issue is, what do they have to give up that isn't going to just destroy their franchise like the Panthers did by trading up for the number 1 pick and getting Bryce Young?
I mean, I don't know if they have much to move, unfortunately, to move up in the draft like that.
I can't tell you who they have other than their top 2 tight ends in Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer. It's like, who do you have that's actually worth, like, we're going to give this piece up and a few draft picks and we're going to get the number 1 pick? They just don't have it. But so I think, and that's why I got the Raiders on my Copium list, because you have a head coach who can steer the ship, you have money to spend, but what are you really going to do as a franchise? Like, you're not going to be contenders for at least a couple years.
Oh, you have him on the Copium.
I got him on the Copium list.
Oh, wow. See, I had him on my Hopium just because they had the cap space. But you make some really good points. But I just figure with the cap space they have right now, they have a top pick in the draft.
Not necessarily. They have the number 7 pick, I think. Number 7 or number 6. It's not a good spot to be for when you're trying to find a franchise quarterback, especially when this quarterback class sucks.
Yeah, true, I guess.
But yeah, so I think that's going to be just a course correction hire. I'm not expecting much out of the Raiders, even if they do spend money. If he can build a staff, or not a staff, but build a team that can potentially be a quarterback away in a couple of years, maybe draft Arch Manning. I don't know. But until then, they're on my Copium list, because what are they going to do, even with all this money and the head coaching hire?
They talk about Pete Carroll. They say, like, oh, for 73 years old, he's got a lot of energy still, but the dude's 73, like, eventually Father Time catches up to you, so I don't know, it's just,
you're not getting
to me, it's kind of a weird hire.
Like, what Pete Carroll do you think you're getting? The Seahawks let him go because he just went flat with his coaching. Like,
Yep.
I freaking when losing to the Seahawks in the playoffs in like 2014, I think 2016, I was like, freaking that bubblegum chewing motherfucker. What does he really do? He just sits there on the sideline, yaps his mouth, chews gum, and look.
As a Packer fan, he pissed me off so much doing that.
It was God. That was like the start of McCarthy's downfall too. He's like, that was just a terrible year, terrible years, I should say. But yeah, I don't think you're gonna be getting that good of a Pete Carroll because, yeah, he hired Chip Kelly to be his offensive coordinator. You know, the guy just won the national championship, but again, what talent is there? And Chip Kelly's offenses, I think even Jason Kelsey said it, like, when they get going, and you can't stop them. But if they don't ever get going, they're not going to do anything. And it's just, and you look at the talent they don't have. Who's their quarterback? Who's their running back? Who's their number one wide receiver? Their O-line sucks. They have nothing on the offensive side of the ball that really helps them.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely years away from contending, but I'd at least say they're on the upside. I'd say that they can start slowly turning it around, and maybe
there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a very long tunnel.
Yeah, it's a very long tunnel.
So yeah, then you got other coaching hires. Like, you want to talk about the worst hire of the cycle? It's the Cowboys promoting Brian Schottenheimer.
Oh.
Like, yeah, your dad, Marty, he was a great coach, but you, dude, weren't even calling offenses for the Cowboys.
Let's be honest, the Cowboys are not going to be successful with Jerry Jones just constantly getting in the way, because to me this is just like a yes sir hire, someone that's going to get behind Jerry Jones. And
if Jerry Jones had it his way, he'd be coaching the team too.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree.
It's just, the guy is a dinosaur. He doesn't know modern football anymore. Look at their draft classes and who they've drafted over the past couple years. I can't name a single guy that's like, all right, yeah, he's going to be a star player. And it's like, freaking, he kept promoting, like, I know it was him promoting on the Cowboys social media, telling them, like, well, we got Deuce Vaughn, smallest running back in the league. You know, his dad works for us. See, I'm a good guy. I got his kid drafted here. But it's, any coach working for Jerry Jones is just going to be a yes man to do what he wants, and you're paying $100 million between CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. Your O-line got worse. You don't have a running back. You really only have one wide receiver. You don't have a tight end. It's the same thing as the Raiders. What do you have? You just screwed up big time by paying these guys so much money, and you aren't anywhere near competing.
Yeah, especially last year was so disappointing for the Cowboys. I mean,
CeeDee was my number one. He let me down.
Oh, yeah, he was your number one, wasn't he? Well, to be fair, McCaffrey was my number two, and that didn't work out.
I told you not to take McCaffrey. I told you. You all chastised me. I'm like, no, the injury bug's going to get him. And guess what? It got him.
You did. You tried warning me, but
I already know who my number one is this year, and it's a little safer than CeeDee Lamb, but...
Oh, what's your number one this year?
I can't tell you my number one because you have the number two pick. But then you look at who Schottenheimer hired. So he hired the Cardinals offensive line coach to be his offensive coordinator, and he hired Matt Eberflus to be his defensive coordinator. Like,
I was gonna say that offensive coordinator for Arizona kind of helped James Conner break out in a way. I wonder if Cowboys are going to be running the ball more.
Well, it wasn't the offensive coordinator; it was the offensive line coach. But he was a name rising up, and they're like, okay, he might be a good guy to watch in a few years. But the thing I'm paying attention to is just Matt Eberflus. There was a lot of talks of him getting fired by the Colts before he got hired as the Bears head coach. So where do you get off thinking that's a good hire? Because I know he used to work for the Cowboys. I think he was like the linebackers coach or something. But it sure just seems like Jerry is hiring friends now, and he's not hiring a good team.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the Cowboys aren't going to compete with Jerry Jones as an owner. I mean, I just don't see it unless Jerry Jones has some miraculous moment where he realizes he needs to step back and
But he
let
never
the
will.
team. Yeah, he never will. He can't let go like that. So
I would laugh my ass off if he spent all this time building a franchise and a business for his family to take over, and the day he keels over, his family's like, you know what? We're gonna sell the team. Just like,
that'd be wonderful for Cowboy fans.
it would. They needed to lose. The entire Jones family needs to get out of Dallas. That's the only way they'll ever improve.
Yep.
But then you want to talk about some good hires here, because there were a couple. You know, we already talked about Aaron Glenn, and that will be a good hire because I love the people he's hired so far. But as long as Brick and Woody Johnson stay the hell out of his way, the Jets could be a really good team in a few years. You know, they got to deal with the Rodgers cap space, or the dead cap, but that's a different problem. But you know, Ben Johnson, great hire, and then Patriots, Mike Vrabel, that's a really freaking good hire.
That's a great hire. Yeah, that was my other favorite. It's between that and Aaron Glenn. I don't know which one's better, but that was a really good hire
And
for
like
him.
everyone, like so many people are mad that Josh McDaniels came back as offensive coordinator, but Mac Jones' rookie season, he looked like the next Tom Brady, and then Mike McDaniels left. So like, I think Mike McDaniels is a really good decision, especially with Drake May as quarterback. I think, and they have the most cap space in the league heading into the Super Bowl. They had $120 million to spend.
And then what pick do they have as well this year then?
They have the number 4 pick. They have the number 4 pick. So,
Yeah, they're set up for. I mean, they can speed up this rebuild process pretty quickly with the cap they have, and they already have their quarterback. They just need to get him some weapons. I mean,
like I've been saying, like if you don't draft O-line, draft Tyrone McMillan. Because like if you draft O-line, you're going to be reaching a little bit, but he needs O-line and he needs wide receiver. But I am worried that with Mike Vrabel, a defensive-minded head coach, he's going to look for the best defensive player available. It's like you need to do this in phases, and you need to give your star quarterback something to work with before it's too late.
Yep.
And with 120 mil, with T. Higgins on the market, Chris Godwin on the market, there's a lot of wide receivers you could sign instead of drafting. So they have a lot of options here. And you're given a head coach. He's basically Vrabel has a clean slate to work with. Robert Kraft's basically giving him the keys and saying, okay, here you go, because this team has nothing on it. And I thought it was a little soon to fire Gerard Mayo because he was dealing with Belichick's roster still. But now you got the guy everyone wanted to be the Patriots head coach as head coach. He took the Titans to the AFC Championship. He was like back-to-back Coach of the Year. I would say Drake May is a much better quarterback than Ryan Tannehill ever was.
Oh, by far, yeah.
So I think the Patriots could unfortunately be back to contending within 5 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, in 5 years, I could see him competing at the highest level. Like, I'm talking like competing for Super Bowls and stuff. I don't think they're too far off. I mean, obviously they're far off, but with the assets they have right now, I just think that they could rebuild this quickly and they could be competing in the next few years.
Mm-hmm. And then, speaking of teams not contending, you got the Saints who hired Kellen Moore.
Oh, yeah, Kellen Moore.
It's so ironic to me that Brandon Staley is reportedly his top defensive coordinator option when he is the offensive version of Brandon Staley. Like if he doesn't have star players in his offense, he struggles. And I think there's a theme of that. And you look at his time with the Cowboys, they look pretty explosive. And they did get better when he was gone, but that's a whole different matter. And he goes to the Chargers. They don't have anything on offense other than Herbert and aging and hurt all the time, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And now he's on the Saints, and he's got Derek Carr and Chris Olave. What do they do with that number 9 pick when they also don't have any money to spend? Like, they are literally on my list at negative $54 million in the hole.
They are in cap hell at the moment.
They're like, I'm doing a Saints rebuild in Madden, and dude, it's fine. I still have to hit 2027, and then I get 71 million to spend. But until then, I've been like, okay, draft perfectly or I'm screwed. And that's how the Saints are going to have to do it. They're going to have to probably let go of Taysom Hill. And if they don't, say Taysom Hill suddenly comes back and he doesn't tear his ACL again. A Kellen Moore offense with the Taysom Hill in it, who could play quarterback, running back, fullback, tight end, wide receiver. Holy shit.
Sounds like a dream. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure you'd love that, but yeah, their cap situation is pretty bad.
There's just, we can clear $9 million in cap space if we do this. It's not gonna matter. You took one drop out of the ocean is what you did. And I'm hearing reports here and there that there's like, okay, we're gonna step back, we're gonna let you do your thing, you build this team how you want to build it. But the issue is they have a GM who is still adamant that, we can keep kicking the can down the road. We can still have a contending team if we keep kicking the can down the road. And you're not going to win that way. You're just not.
Yeah, they just need to accept, they need to lay in the bed they made and just go into a rebuild and just, start again, because they've honestly made some poor choices.
That's like when Drew Brees retired, that was the time to like, okay, let's take the hit, let's rewind, let's rebuild, let's go. But they didn't.
Yep.
Sean Payton was getting stale. They just took the hit and they kept taking hits and they kept creating hits. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good situation, and they made it worse, and it's still worse, and now it's the worst one in the league.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, okay. In Kellen Moore's defense, when a coaching job comes up, there's only 32 teams. Yeah, I mean, you gotta take it, but I mean, he has quite an uphill battle with that team. I don't know what he's gonna do or how he's gonna do it.
I get it. Like, you look at Bobby Slowick, he was such a top head coach candidate, and I thought he was possibly going to get hired. I thought he needed another year. Well, he was the Texans defensive coordinator, and they looked terrible this year, and there's so many reports coming out how he's like, well, Stroud isn't allowed to make protection changes at the line, only the center can. And he was really good at scheming up players getting open, but he was a first half offensive coordinator. He could not complete a game, and now he's probably not even going to get a job this offseason because he did such a terrible job and he didn't take that head coaching opportunity when he had it. So who's to say if Kellen Moore did stay another year at the Eagles if they would have been just as explosive, especially with a guy like Saquon Barkley on your team? I think he would have been better off staying another year and seeing who's going to be open in a couple years, such as the Giants or I don't even know. Like, probably the Cowboys would have been open. I think Brian Schottenheimer is going to be gone after 1 year.
You think it's just going to be 1 year?
I think he's going to be a one and done because Jerry just doesn't have any patience anymore. Hell, the Bucks.
Yeah, I'd probably. Who'd the Bucks? Who'd the Bucks hire?
Well, no. So the Jaguars hired the Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen.
Oh yeah.
You know who did the terrible Duval impression?
Duval.
God. But I think that's a really good hire because Trevor Lawrence, he hasn't hit his peak yet. I don't think he's at his peak. He just seems stunted. Especially when you have a head coach like Urban Meyer your rookie year, who's just going out to strip clubs and getting caught grinding on women and stuff. And just actively... The Urban Meyer, the guy who said Joe Burrow wasn't a champion winner. And it's like... He was in such a bad situation. You had Trevor Lawrence, who won like 50 college games or something like that. I think he was undefeated in college as a quarterback. But I think Liam Cohen's going to be the guy that's like, okay, We're going to get offensive line. We're going to draft another receiver, maybe sign one. Where are they at in cap space? They don't have a lot. They have 32 mil. But they can do some stuff. They can do some stuff. I think if they go 8-9, 7-10, but as long as Trevor Lawrence suddenly starts looking like his college days and looking like the number one pick that he was, I think Jaguar fans have a lot of hope, and that's why I have them on my Hopium list somewhere. There they are, number 5. But I think that's going to be a really good hire, and I don't know who their GM is going to be. They made the right decision in getting rid of their GM, Trent Baalke, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think the Jags have something to look forward to finally.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason you're bringing in Cohen, right, is for Trevor Lawrence. I mean,
it has to be.
What he did with Baker last year. I think Baker had statistically his best season.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully he can work some stuff with Trevor Lawrence, because he's been underwhelming, I'd say, for most of his
with how
NFL
Brian
career.
Thomas Jr., the wide receiver, played for them with Mac Jones in a Doug Peterson offense, and whoever his offensive coordinator was as offensive coordinator in that whole system. I am excited to see what Brian Thomas Jr. is going to do in a Liam Cohen offense. I'm so excited for that. I think that's going to be a lethal combination going forward.
We have to keep him on our fantasy radar.
No, he's mine. But yeah, so now that we talked about some coaches, we already kind of hinted at some Hopium and Copium. We might as well dive right into it. So you said you had a list. You made a list. I'm curious, who's on your list?
Well, I'm going to be honest. I didn't quite. I had some teams in mind, but I didn't quite make a list. So
Okay. So let's.
why don't you lead us off, Carter?
All right, do you want me just to list everyone I have in Hopium, or do you want me to go one by one and talk about why I think they have a lot of hope?
You can do either one. If you feel conflicted to explain yourself, then
I'll give little notes. We already talked about some of them. I'll give little notes.
okay, all right.
So we talked about so I got the Bears, Jets, and Patriots as my top 3 on Hopium. New head coaches, guys that are the perfect hire. I think they got a lot of hope to look forward to. And other than the Jets cap situation, they have a guy in there now who's making decisions quickly. Like they're laying down the law. And Aaron Glenn said during his press conference when he got hired, he's like, we're going to look at the film of everyone. I don't care who you are. We're going to see if you're worth being on this team or not. That's the kind of head coach they need right now, is a guy who's going to make decisions.
Yep.
So then
everyone.
Going down the list, you got the Commanders. They have $78 million in cap space. And you have Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, and they well overperformed this season, but you saw their potential, and I think they have a lot to look forward to there. And then you got the Jaguars we talked about, Liam Cohen and his offense. I think he's going to do good there. Then we got the Packers. They've been rising up ever since Jordan Love started. They made the playoffs 2 years in a row. Did it end well? No. But they're getting better.
Packers got a lot of not a lot, but they got a bit of money to play with too this year. So
42 mil, and it's projected after the draft they would have about 35 mil. And that's assuming they didn't sign anyone in free agency. So they don't have a lot, but they got a little bit to work with. And when you look at last offseason when you signed Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney, you and I were talking about that. Like I was screaming in my car, like looking at Twitter on my way home from work. I was so excited for those 10 minutes that we had Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs.
Oh man, yeah.
And it's like Aaron Jones released. Fuck!
For 10 minutes, we had the best backfield in the NFL.
Oh. But no, it's the Lions. Of course, the division rival had to have the best backfield.
Yeah.
But so then you have the Packers. I think they're getting... Year 3 is when Rodgers took off. Year 3 could be when Love takes off. And we talked about before the history of the last time the Packers had the 23rd pick, and it was Rodgers' 3rd season. They went and won the Super Bowl. Who knows? Maybe it happens, right? But then
they're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. So then I got the Texans, who you have Stroud, you have Nico Collins. Terrible thing that happened with Tank Dell just decimating his knee, because you saw that, right, against the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like everything in his knee was destroyed. Like it probably would have been better to amputate his leg if he wasn't trying to be a pro football player. And
Gosh,
they're already
that's
saying the earliest he can come back is 2026, if ever. So that hurts. That stings. Texans are my backup team, but they have Joe Mixon. They're probably going to bring back Stephon Diggs. They have O-line issues, but the guy they hired, I think his name is Tim Cayley. I think. Let me find it quick. Hold on. Nick Cayley. He was the Rams tight ends coach, and everyone talks about his work ethic and how good of a coordinator he would be, and just how hard he works and how much everyone loves playing for him. I think that's the perfect hire for the Texans and CJ Stroud specifically, because it sounds like they're really going to lay into the West Coast offense, which is the perfect system for Nico Collins and CJ Stroud, I think, and Joe Mixon. I think the Texans are going to be really fun to watch this next season.
Oh, I agree. And they should, barring injuries, they should do a lot better this upcoming season. So definitely have to watch out for them.
And if they draft a guy like Emeka Egbuka to be their wide receiver too, you got that Ohio State bloodline between Stroud and Emeka. It's just, they could feast. They could feast. So then I got the Bills, which another heartbreak in the playoffs. But hey, Josh Allen joins Aaron Rodgers. That's the only two quarterbacks to lose to the same team 4 times in the playoffs. Elite company. Elite.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's sad.
We see Josh Allen, what he does without a team, and how much better he plays and puts that team on his back, which is why he deserved MVP. But despite their cap situation, which right now it's at about negative 14 mil, I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be fine. They have another draft coming up. We saw what Josh Allen can do without a guy like Stephon Diggs. I think if they reload on defense, maybe add a wide receiver somewhere, I think they're going to be okay. So then, but not as okay as the Chargers or Broncos, because holy shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh, is it Jim?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, right?
It's one of the Harbaughs. Either way, screw that guy, because he was the 49ers coach and he knocked us out of the playoffs. But he gave Herbert a really good season. Herbert threw more interceptions in the playoffs, in his one playoff appearance, than he did all season, which was like 4.
What'd they finish the year with? How many? 11 wins, I think, was it? Or
I think they were 9 or 10.
Okay.
But they were another team that overperformed. But look at the talent they didn't have. It was just, they don't have a tight end. Their O-line got slightly better. They don't really have a great running back. They had Ladd McConkey, and that was kind of it. So you have another offseason here where you could draft or sign offensive talent, because they have, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th most cap space. That's $63.5 million. So they can do some damage this offseason and bring some talent in for Herbert. And I would hope to God they draft a tight end, because a tight end is a quarterback's best friend, and he doesn't have that right now. Herbert needs that help. And I don't understand why people give Herbert so much crap for losing in the playoffs, because last night he did not look good against the Texans. He just didn't. He looked terrible. But he gets so much crap, I don't understand it. It's kind of like Joe Burrow. People are hating on him. Is like, well, he has T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and he had Joe Mixon, and he can't win games. He's never had an O-line. He's never had a good defense. It's a team game. Last I checked. So
yeah,
Herbert, I still think the 2020 draft class for quarterbacks is going to be really good, because you have Jalen Hurts, who won a Super Bowl. You had Joe Burrow, who appeared in a Super Bowl. Herbert, he's been to the playoffs. Love finally got his starts. He's been to the playoffs 2 years in a row. You got the Broncos. They have their franchise quarterback finally after so many years. But I'm happy for, what's his face? Sutton, Cortland Sutton.
Oh, yeah.
I'm happy he finally has a quarterback.
Yeah, no kidding.
And same thing with Terry McLaurin. They finally have quarterbacks, and it's great. But then,
Denver definitely needs another weapon with Sutton.
they do, and I think that's another team that could potentially draft Amika Ibuka, because you don't need a wide receiver 1, you need a wide receiver 2, and Amika has always been wide receiver 2. He is the T. Higgins of prospects, in my opinion, because he's not going to be the guy that's going to get you the wins, but he's going to make big plays when it matters. And the Broncos, not a lot of cap space either, about 35 mil. So they have to draft well again. But it seems like Sean Payton's finally got his guy. And this was really interesting to me. Sean Payton never drafted a quarterback in the first round.
Really?
Nope. He signed Drew Brees. He took the chance on an injured Drew Brees, and the rest was history.
I didn't even realize that. Wow.
Yeah. So moving on, we got the Seahawks, and they're in a little bit of a situation. They have negative 13 mil in cap space, but they have Tyler Lockett. They have Jackson Smith and Higba. They have a Geno Smith who can be really good. He's proven that. They have Kenneth Walker Jr., DK Metcalf. Did I say DK? Either way, they got him. They got him. He's like two people out there. But you got Kenneth Walker Jr., you got Zach Charbonnet. You just need an O-line and a good tight end. And with, what's his name? Clint Kubiak. He was the Saints offensive coordinator last year. Well, now he's with the Seahawks. I think they're going to light up the league. I think they're about to go off. If they draft O-line, they sign O-line, whatever they do, if they focus on that, they're about to explode. I really think that, because the reason he looks so bad with the Saints is because they have no depth. All their players are aging, and they were all got hurt most of the season. Like, I think Carr only played 11 games. So, and all his receivers got hurt. It was a mess. But I think Clint Kubiak, I think he's going to do everything right for the Seahawks and just take them to new heights. You got the Cardinals, who they're getting better. They're getting better. I think what's his name? Aaron Glenn? No. Jonathan Gannon, I think his name is, the head coach of the Cardinals. I kind of thought when he got hired there, I thought, okay, he's probably going to take a while because he's a defensive-minded coach. But I think they're getting better. Kyler Murray, they have Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's another team where if they draft Amika, you have two teammates in Marvin Harrison and Amika Ibuka. And you could try to do the thing where you recreate what LSU did with having two number ones in Jamar and Jefferson. So they're getting better. James Conner did great, like you said. Their O-line needs a little work. But I think if they add a couple more, and they have Trey McBride at tight end, I think the Cardinals have a lot to look forward to.
We can finally maybe see a Kyler Murray breakout.
As long as COD doesn't come out with a new Battle Pass. Because once again, Battle Pass comes out, Kyler Murray sucks ass. You have to recognize the pattern. But then you got the Falcons, who they got to figure out what to do with Kirk Cousins and whether or not he's 160 mil backup or just cut him and take the hit. But I have him on Hopium because of what Michael Penix Jr. did in his last couple games. Didn't do a lot, but I think he has a bright future once he gets going more with the Falcons and with the talent. Like, I think Kyle Pitts, he's a bust. Get rid of him. But you have guys like Drake London and Darnell Mooney, who people said, oh, that's a bad signing. I thought Darnell Mooney was a good receiver, even with the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
So I think
he's obviously not a number one or anything, but no. I mean, he's serviceable for sure.
And on top of that, you have Bijan Robinson. And what's his name? Patterson? Yeah, Cordell Patterson. I think they're going to be fine. I think they have a lot to look forward to, but not as much as the Panthers do. Because for once, benching their quarterback worked, because Bryce Young sucked those first 2 weeks. Andy Dalton got in a car accident, so they were forced to bring Bryce Young back out. Suddenly, Bryce Young looked like a competent quarterback, and that's what mattered most. They have a quarterback now. He wasn't perfect, but he wasn't costing you games. And you see him actively like standing in the pocket, bracing for the hit, but he's making sure he gets that pass off at the very last moment. So I think they have a lot to work on, but I think they have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm kind of bullish on the Panthers next year. I think they'll do a lot better. obviously not contend in the playoffs, I don't think, but they'll definitely make quite a few improvements. And
If they can get 6 wins, 7 wins, they're on the right track.
oh yeah, yep.
They need wide receiver help, though. That's another thing. But
Yeah.
they have a ways to go, but they're getting better. Now, that's the end of my Hopium list. Are you ready for my Copium list?
Okay, lay it on me.
And it's no surprise, my top 3 are Titans, Browns, Giants, and they're also the top 3 picks in the draft.
Yeah, that's fair.
You have the Titans, who they're just a mess of an organization with an owner who's impatient. You have the Browns, who are still suffering from the Deshaun Watson contract, and now you got Myles Garrett wanting out. You got the Giants, who have a putz of a head coach who somehow got 1 year of magic out of Daniel Jones. And you have a GM with the Giants that is just dumb as a bag of rocks, whose own kid said he needed Jaden Daniels. And they didn't do it. No, they didn't do it.
Hey, to be fair, they finally moved on from Daniel Jones.
They did.
So I mean that's a plus.
At the cost of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, that's all it was really.
They could have they could have had Saquon and Jaden Daniels.
Oh my god, when you put it like that.
But no, they still have the dead cap from Daniel Jones. But we talked about the Raiders, they're on my Copium list. We talked about the Saints, they're on the Copium list. Now these are the bigger names. Are you ready for this one?
Okay.
49ers and Cowboys. Now Cowboys we talked about, what are they going to do, really? But the 49ers, they're losing their top defensive talents. You have Christian McCaffrey, who you don't know if he's going to be back to the same ever again. You got Brock Purdy, who they're already talking about. He's going to be another $60 million quarterback. So they don't have money to spend. They have okay, they have $48 million to spend, but you cannot bring back those top tier defensive players. You just can't.
Carter, I hear you what you're saying about the 49ers, but that's a pretty spicy take, I think, that the 49ers are copium.
I think they don't have a lot to look forward to because you have Deebo Samuel given permission to find a trade. Brandon Ayuk, they were forced to pay him a bunch of money after all that offseason drama, and he tore his ACL right away, pretty much. So I don't think they have a lot to look forward to. I just don't. I think they're going to go back to being what they were before Jim Harbaugh got there, which was not good.
I don't know. I think they're too deep for that. I think they got a few more good years in them, and I think barring injury again, I think they're going to compete playoff-wise. I don't know. To me, they just seem too deep. Yeah, I mean,
we'll find out.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
We will.
I got the Dolphins on Copium.
Okay, yeah.
Because you got Tua, you don't know if he can stay healthy. You have Tyreek Hill, who's losing a step. You have Jalen Waddle, who can't stay healthy. You don't have a good O-line. You don't have a good tight end. You have a head coach who's really good at getting the best out of your players, but once the game plan starts falling apart, he doesn't know what to do. And I think they're at a point where they're plateauing at what they can do and getting the most out of their talent. And I work with a Dolphins fan, and I told them the only way the Dolphins win the Super Bowl is if the Super Bowl goes through Miami. Because they cannot go on the road in the playoffs unless the teams they go against in the playoffs have domes. Otherwise, they will never win a Super Bowl because they cannot play in the cold. We saw that with the Packers. We saw it with the Chiefs last offseason. They just cannot compete in the cold. And there's no amount of preparation that will get them ready for that kind of cold.
I think in a perfect world, Dolphins are probably Hopium. But the problem is that it's far from a perfect world. Like, so much has to go right for the Dolphins to actually be competitive. And, yeah, you just have so many question marks on that team. I hear you.
They also have negative 11 million in cap space. So
yeah, that doesn't help.
They're just... And their best defensive players got hurt again last year. It's just... There's nothing they can do to win the Super Bowl unless... the Super Bowls go through Miami, or not the Super Bowl, but the playoffs go through Miami. It's the only way.
I don't know the chances of that happening. So
Not good.
yeah.
They had like the number one offense a couple of years ago, but they were still like the 5 seed. They don't, and that's another issue. Like I like the head coach. I think he's a cool dude. I think he knows how to really, with that kind of high speed offense. But he can't beat 500 teams. He can't. It's been proven time and time again. They get like 10 wins, but then the other half of their record is because they lost to the actual winning teams. He can't do it. So, unfortunately, as much as I like the guy, I don't know how much longer he's going to be there.
Sure.
And it's not good when they say at the beginning of the season, yeah, we extended him through 2026. Cool. By the end of the season, oh no, we're going to keep him. Don't you worry about that. It's like, why was that even a discussion if you're so dead set on it?
Yeah, right.
But now I'm going to go through these quick. You got the Colts. They're a stagnant franchise. They have no energy. They have no fight. Pat McAfee, go watch him. He talked about it. Go look at his tweets. He talked about it. They're just they're dead in the water right now. And you have a quarterback. You don't know if he can ever throw. You don't know if he could hit the broadside of a barn. You just don't. He could throw the ball over the barn, but we don't know if he can hit the barn.
Yeah.
And you got the Bengals. And okay, yeah, that's the other thing. The Colts hired for their defensive coordinator, the Bengals defensive coordinator. The Bengals sucked last year on defense. So it's a real interesting hire to do that. But you got the Bengals. They have an issue of T. Higgins. He didn't really want to get franchise tagged, but he didn't want to leave the team. Now he's a top free agent coming up, unless they franchise tag him again. You have Jamar Chase, who's still on his rookie deal, but he held out until literally hours before week 1. Like the day of the game, he held out, and he's like, okay, I'll come back. And then he ended up becoming the Triple Crown threat. Who would have thought that would happen? But and then again, the O-line and the defense, if the Bengals don't draft defense first round, you're done. Give up. It's like, you're never going to win. And I want Joe Burrow to win. I like Joe Burrow.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
The Bengals, I don't know if it's like coaching, but they are kind of just dead in the water too. They need to start making progressive changes, but they have so many cap hit issues. It's not even funny. Moving on. You want to talk about spicy? I got spicy right here. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Eagles and Chiefs, both on Copium.
Oh, wow. Okay. Hey, you got to explain each one for me.
Chiefs, no cap space. They have $11.5 million in cap space. Their top offensive guards leaving. You have Kelsey potentially retiring, but he's also lost a step. You have a lot of defensive talent like Justin Reed. They're losing a lot of players. No way they can afford them all. With Matt Nagy as your offensive coordinator, you will not ever be as good as you were with Eric Bieniemy as your offensive coordinator, and that's a different story. Now for the Eagles, same situation. 18 million in cap space, but all the defensive players that made the Super Bowl happen, that got them to win, they're all leaving. They're all free agents. And you got to hope whoever the offensive coordinator that they hire won't be a bust, because Kellen Moore, lightning in a bottle. You had Shane Steichen a couple years ago, lightning in a bottle. I don't know who they can hire now that will replicate the success they had between Jalen Hurts not throwing as many picks again and Saquon Barkley being arguably an MVP player, the MVP player. So
He's my MVP.
And then we talked about it, the Lions. They have a roster deep enough to keep them competitive, but who are their coaches going to be? How good are they going to be in these new systems? We don't know.
Yep.
How good is Jared Goff really going to be without Ben Johnson? Really, how good are any of them going to be without these guys that made them what they are? So they're on my copium because of that. Not because I'm a Packers fan, just because what do they have that's going to lead them to the way other than talent? I think they're potentially going to start falling apart here in the next couple of years without good coaches.
I was just going to reiterate that just the Lions, I feel like, are just a huge question mark. going into the season for the exact reasons that you said. It's going to be interesting to see who they how the new coaches do.
Yeah, I just don't see it working out too well. But like Dan Campbell, he can motivate the guys, but he's too aggressive with his play calling. He's just, I think it's going to cost him. But
yeah, it kind of did, didn't it? I
mean,
mean,
against the Niners like last year.
Eventually, yeah.
Then you got the Ravens. They're going to suffer because, yeah, they have Zay Flowers. Yeah, they have Derrick Henry. Yeah, they have Lamar. Their O-line is probably going to get a little bit better, but their defense did get hot towards the end, but they just don't have cap space. They have $6 million to spend, not even. So they need to draft really well and just hope to have an all-star season again like they did last year. Not this last season, but last year. Or say a Hail Mary. I don't know. But then you got the Rams, who they're losing Cup. They're purposely giving up Cup. They said, we're going to find you the best situation. And he wasn't really a factor this last season either. But now you have Stafford, and they still don't know if they're going to bring him back. They still don't know because they're in such a bad cap situation. They're still paying. Like, they've drafted incredibly well. And I'm hoping the assistant GM becomes the Jags GM. But they just don't have the cap space to make anything work. And they're still paying for that Super Bowl win. They're still paying for it.
Do you know what their cap situation is?
They have 38 mil to work with. That's heading into the Super Bowl.
That's tough.
It's with Stafford eating a large chunk of it because I think he's getting paid like 35 mil a year. And you don't have your former Triple Crown threat wide receiver. You just have Puka Nacua and Robinson, who was a wide receiver 4 at best, often playing wide receiver 3. And they also don't have a good tight end. And if you can't tell by now, I'm a sucker for tight ends. They have a soft spot in my heart. But then I'm going to jump down to the bottom quick. You got the Buccaneers because you have Todd Bowles, who he's kind of he's a good coach, but he's a weak coach. He doesn't take the risks when he's supposed to. And now that he lost Liam Cohen, what are you going to do? Like, honestly. And they have, I'm not prepared for this at all. They have $2 million in cap space.
Oh boy.
So
yeah,
it's just going to be Baker, Jalen McMillan, Mike Evans, and Bucky Irving. And they're not going to have Chris Godwin back because they can't afford him. So you have a weak head coach, an unproven offensive coordinator, and you lost one of your key players. I don't know how good you're really going to... And their defense is aging out. That's another factor, too. Let's see here. We got the Steelers. Mike Tomlin, once again, in my opinion, it's impressive that he's never had a losing season. It's also impressive that he only won one Super Bowl because he had the roster of someone else's team.
Oh, he rides that so much, that the never losing season. I don't know how he still has the coaching job.
He's an amazing players coach, but he's not that good of a coach. Because literally, how does it happen every year? You get 8 or 9 wins and you just lose out. It happens every year. Every year. It's like he literally gives up. And he's keeping Arthur Smith as offensive coordinator. The guy who was forcing Russell Wilson not to call audibles at the line, which is what he is known to do, just like Rodgers. So all these Steeler fans, like, yeah, we don't want Rodgers here. He's a problem. Well, guess what? You're not going to get him anyways because Rodgers is going to want to go somewhere where he's able to change the play at the line. That's what he does.
Yeah, and that's what makes him so good, being able to change the play and read defenses. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to utilize that.
And Arthur Smith, he was only good under the Mike Vrabel system. That was it. That's how he got the Falcons head coaching job, and once he was there, he sucked. He did. Last but not least, and I'm going to quote Tom Grossi here. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
The purple incarnate of hell, the Vikings themselves, the Minnesota Vikings.
What? Why do you? Oh, because their quarterback situation, or
No. I think they need to write it out with JJ McCarthy. As a football fan, I think you need to write it out with JJ McCarthy. You let Sam Darnold go.
Yep.
McCarthy was hurt, but he sat behind a veteran quarterback, and he has a quarterback guru with Kevin O'Connell as head coach, who should not have won head coach of the year in my opinion. But it's time to let JJ go in and light it up, because his one preseason game, yeah, it's preseason, but he looked really freaking polished for a rookie quarterback. And
my only worry is he going to be healthy? Do we know like the timetable for his return? Is he
everything's been on track so far, his rehab and everything. Okay. And I've been saying for the memes, if he suddenly takes a setback with his rehab, bring in Papa Rogers and complete the cycle. But because, oh my God, can you imagine Aaron Rodgers with Justin Jefferson?
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even begin to imagine. And then Aaron Jones as well, he reunites with Aaron Jones.
They're probably going to bring Aaron Jones back. And he had a really good season last year. And the Vikings, they have, whoa, where are they? They have $58 million to spend. But they're on my Copium list because I can't describe it. There's just something about them. It's like, I don't know if you're ever going to get over the hump. I just don't know if you ever will.
Are you thinking this season was kind of fluky?
No, I think I was thinking all offseason, if Sam Darnold does take off, they're going to be a really good team. And they were a really good team, but he choked in the biggest moments. And I just don't see the Viking. Like, I don't see them having a lot of hope for the future either, because you don't know anything about JJ McCarthy. But I also think at the same time you need to write it out with JJ McCarthy, because you traded up your.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. That's why I said they have Copium. They have no draft picks for this next season.
Was it? What do you know what picks they have? I don't know.
I can't remember, but I think they only have like 3 picks, and I don't think there's like 1 in the first round, and then I think it's like a 4th and a 5th.
Really?
They do not have. Let me look it up. Oh, I gotta click on their website. Gross. Yeah, they have a round 1, a 5, and a 5.
Oh, that's not good.
They don't have any draft picks. That's the biggest reason why I said they're on Copium, because they have a lot of pieces they need to address, like their O-line still. But
they're not going to be able to address it unless they're spending money, but
which they have, but there's too many variables for me to put them on Hopium. And but yeah, that's my Hopium Copium list.
Huh, interesting. You did have some spicy takes. Yeah. I'll say the Eagles. That's spicy. Even the Chiefs, but I can kind of understand where you're coming from the Chiefs, but
yeah, I think there's, especially with the coaching carousel, and I'd gladly talk more about them, in different episodes. But I think there's a lot of teams that you didn't think would have a lot to look forward to. There's teams that have something to look forward to, even if they don't want to admit it. Then there's teams that are going to start falling apart here, such as the Cowboys, and the Giants probably aren't going to get any better, even if they draft an all-star quarterback. Who knows if they will? Titans don't even know what they're going to do with the first-round pick yet, and who knows what the Browns do? But because there is a reality where Stuart Sanders does fall to 7 to the Raiders, but it's a slim reality. If you really want to, because you have the Titans, Browns, and Giants. If they really want to lean into okay, let's get a franchise guy, they're kind of screwed. So, and that makes free agency a little more interesting, which should be March 14th. So that'll be a real interesting day to see who gets signed, where quarterbacks go, because like Rodgers, for example, he can still sign with another team, but still be a post June 1st cut by the Jets. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And with that situation, they can either eat $49 million this season, or they can spread it out and eat $35 million next year, $14 million this year, and clear like $9 million in cap space. So it's up to them how they want to handle it, so it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to be another interesting offseason. Seems like the last few off seasons have been really interesting, and it just feels like this is going to be another one of those.
Well, let's hope so, and it's with some maybe some up and coming teams as well. It'd be
We need content, damn it.
Yeah, we need content.
Oh, you got anything else to add? I kind of said my piece.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I liked your Hopium and Copium list. I kind of disagree with, but we'll have to wait and see. But hey, if you're right about these, I'll give you your props. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, unfortunately, the season's over, and we have to wait another 20-some weeks to get back to football. But you know, we got free agency, we got draft coming up, which that'll be good. The draft will be a good event.
Oh, yeah. So like, if anyone's watching this video right now and they want to come back and watch our what do you call the draft? You had a word for it. Carter,
Draft night extravaganza.
A draft night extravaganza. We will be doing a draft night extravaganza. Carter will actually be in Green Bay, and I'll be here at my house. I have to work.
Represent.
But I'll be live streaming the entire thing. So
we got plans, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be good. So keep in touch if you want to see more videos, and we'll talk to you guys in a little bit.